Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Friday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We've made it to Friday, folks, and most people have a long weekend ahead of themselves. Today's program, we're going to have JC. He and I we'll discuss some college sports, basketball and football, and pick our NFL games, our Peachland Dentistry, JC and the QB weekend picks. In the second portion of the show, we'll be joined by Pete Prisco. He's a writer, blogger, what have you, for CBSSports.com. Been covering the NFL for over 30-something years. Get his thoughts about Urban, the new football coach of your Jacksonville Jaguars. Get his thoughts on the playoffs as well. But let's go now to the Titan MR hotline, and we are joined by Corn Dog. Good morning, JC. How are you?
Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. And here we go. Another big weekend of football and some huge news last night. You know, I'm very excited for the Jaguars. This is something they needed really badly. They need a shot in the arm here, get this fan base going again.
So is it safe to say that JC purchased some Jaguar gear last night?
Not yet. They have to draft Trevor Lawrence. If they draft Trevor Lawrence and not a lineman from the Pac-12 on their first pick, then yeah, I'll get excited.
Let me tell you something. If they don't draft Trevor Lawrence, anybody that's a Jaguar fan will be jumping off the Matthews Bridge in Jacksonville.
Right. Well, there's no chance that they don't draft him, in my opinion. I mean, it's obvious they're going to take him, and they are going to have 11. Is it 11? I think it's 11 picks. 11 picks in this upcoming draft. They have close to $100 million under the cap from which they can spend and do some really creative things to build this team. And I think, and you may have heard this somewhere else, but I agree with it, but I haven't heard it from anywhere else because I am thinking as an original thought that this team will be in the playoffs in 2 years, max.
Wow.
How about that? Yeah. Well, see, and part of that is because of the division they play in. I think Houston is not that great. The Colts with Philip Rivers, a lot of question marks there, and then Tennessee, who they have trouble with Tennessee on occasion, but you can still get in. Two teams from the same division can still get in. It's happened many times, but I think that and the fact that they can build this team quickly, and in the NFL, you do have a chance. Because it's not like Urban is going to be worried about losing a game. You can lose a game in the NFL. You can lose 2 games in the NFL. You can lose 3 games in the NFL. You can lose 6 games in the NFL and make the playoffs. So, I'm not saying they're going to go 14-2, but what if they go 9-7 or 10-6 in 2 years with a quarterback who's established himself in the league as a young guy like Trevor Lawrence, who we both think is a quick study, and boom, in 2 years that team's in the playoffs. What do you think? I mean, it could happen. I don't see why it couldn't happen. It's happened to many others. Yeah.
I think a lot of it, and we'll talk to Pete Prisco about it. A lot of it's going to be determined on. Here's what I've heard. Who he was hiring, and I don't know if you've heard anything, JC. Heard he's hiring Charlie Strong, Steve Adazio. Who was the other person?
I heard Scott. I heard. Come on, not Scott Leffler. The offensive coordinator could be the guy who was just in Dallas that was fired not long ago before Mike McCarthy came up. It's just at the tip of my head. Blonde-haired guy. He's been around the league forever. He was coach of the Rams once in St. Louis.
Oh, you're talking about Scott Monahan?
No.
Scott. What is his name? Anyway, we're butchering radio right now. I know who you're talking about. It'll come to me in a minute. He has got to hire somebody that's call plays in the NFL.
Linehan.
Scott Linehan.
Scott Linehan was a name that I thought, or that I heard from someone, must have been on ESPN, that they were talking extensively with Scott Linehan to be the offensive play caller. So Yeah, it's a total remake here. It's a gut job, as they say in the home refurbishing business, right? A total gut job in Jacksonville, but they've got a lot of money to spend, man, and they can trade. They can take that first pick. They've got 11 picks. So this is a real ideal situation. I think if there was an ideal situation for a coach to come back into the business and give something new and fresh a try, this presents a tremendous opportunity for Urban Meyer and the Jaguars. I really think this is going to be something special.
Does Urban Meyer get Tebow to come play?
I don't see that happening. He's been out of football too long, in my opinion, there, QB. I think you asked that tongue-in-cheek. I really think you asked that tongue-in-cheek. But maybe Tebow's involved in some form or fashion with the team, trying to – well, because he's from the area, because, he's popular. I really don't know how, maybe not as a player, but maybe as somebody like an executive or something. I'm not sure. But
no,
I think
that would be dumb.
Well, sure, but the point is that he's going to familiarize. He's going to have some familiar faces, I guess, like you were mentioning earlier with those names, and it's exciting. It's very exciting, I think, for Jacksonville fans. I know Frank Frangie, our guy up in Jacksonville's got to be excited because a week ago he talked about this possibility happening, and now that it has and it's official, I think they gave him $12 million a year, something like that. So. But whatever. I mean, does Shad Khan really care about that at this point? He wants to build something in Jacksonville and have a chance. And now he's giving himself a chance. If it costs a little money, it costs a little money. But it's better than just going through the motions like they have for the last 3 or 4 years.
We got a Facebook Live here brought to you by Melvin Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Rob asking, you would know, because you follow this kind of stuff, JC. I don't. Rob wants to know, how much do you think Trevor Lawrence will be offered? Like, what would his contract be? I want to say in the recent years,
they have a rookie contract.
They've kind of capped it for the first rounders, right?
Yeah, right. They're called rookie contracts, and Pete will give you the details on this, but it is limited to a certain amount. After, I think it's 3 years, they can renegotiate a new deal, or they can get that in the second year. You remember Pat Mahomes at Kansas City wasn't one of the highest paid players until after his rookie contract. That term you hear about after their rookie contract is where they make the big bucks. Dak Prescott was the same guy.
But they weren't the first pick of the draft either.
No, that's correct. But I don't think – well, I think in terms of what the caps are for these top picks and the positions that they're in, all are different. If an offensive lineman is the first pick or a quarterback's the first pick, I think they have different rookie caps. But they have a cap, a rookie deal. And that deal through the collective bargaining agreement has stayed intact. And that is for the first 3 years, I want to say. So he'll get – $20 million, maybe something like that, and then maybe a little upfront money, and that's going to be his rookie deal. And then after that, he can, if he's successful, renegotiate.
That's where he really hits the bank.
And that's right. And that's what Prescott's been holding out for. That's what Pat Mahomes got. And so in this case, Trevor Lawrence is going to have that 2 or 3 years where he's going to have to produce, and that's how the Players Association and the owners agreed on salaries for I guess the last 2 collective bargaining agreements. It was the first one that expired, and now the second one that's just happened a year ago.
Our good friend Rick says here, in addition to the first pick of the draft, the Jaguars have the Rams' first round and 4th round pick from the Jalen Ramsey trade.
That's
the
right.
Jaguars also have the Vikings' 2nd round pick from the Yannick Ngakoue trade.
Correct.
And the Browns' 5th round pick from the Ronnie Harrison trade.
Yeah, a lot of trades, but they have, I think I've heard the number of as a total of 11 total picks in the draft. 11.
Yes. Yeah. So
anyway, and a lot of money under that cap. So I mean, they could really get creative with some free agents too, or not just free agents, but make trades. Maybe trade some of those picks, get somebody, or move up, or move down, or whatever the case. These GMs have ways of doing this, and the new general manager at Jacksonville is going to be under some pressure to do.
Who is it? Have they hired a general manager yet?
Well, I don't think they have, and so that's what I'm saying. And Pete will tell you this, I would guess. But Urban Meyer is the first name that I've heard that's gone to Jacksonville. So we'll start seeing him fill in the spaces for his administration, his staff, so to speak, and then they'll go from there. But the GM's going to have a lot of creativity, a lot of things, and I'm sure Urban is going to be highly involved in a lot of those GM responsibilities in terms of personnel, without a doubt.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. I think it's a great hire for them. A lot of excitement in the city, and
I think so.
I'm just curious to see in year one, because let's be honest, I bet the Jaguars lose 9 games at least in the first year. How he handles losing, because the dude ain't lost 9 games in about 10 years. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, right. Yeah. But my initial point of when you get to the playoffs in the NFL, losing one game doesn't kill you. When he's at Ohio State, losing one game kills you.
We all know what the losing to Alabama did to him here. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see, and we'll talk more with Pete Prisco. JC, before we get to our NFL picks towards the end of the segment, a couple other things. College basketball's heated up, but the transfer portal, the Gators pick up another. Obviously, my eyes were not lying to me last year in August when I watched the 2 scrimmages. Because do you remember what I told you?
Yeah.
What did I say? Do you remember?
They got to get bigger up front. They got to get better up front.
I said our defensive line was not very good.
They got to get some ballers.
Okay. Well, we just added a 330-pounder from Penn State. We just added a big 320-something pounder, Daquan Newkirk from Auburn.
I love that.
He's from Auburn. So maybe I need to be a general manager and a scout.
We've always talked about this at lunch on occasion, QB. Your talent is sometimes so wasted, but not all the time. I mean, you're on the greatest podcast in America right now, and I think that is duly noted. But there's no question. I mean, the coaches are telling these kids, hey, man, you can play today or tomorrow or whenever the season starts. You're in. You just got to compete with maybe some of your fellow teammates from other places as well. We're going to fill those spots up and get those guys competing on the practice field, and really getting better at that position is vital for Florida. It's vital. I mean, because the offense is not going to score 49 points a game.
Not next year.
Right. So you better keep people out of the damn end zone, or else you're going to have a very rough run next year. So they know what they got to do. I mean, it's obvious, right? Yeah.
Well, there's no question. They're going to continue shopping in the transfer portal. Greg says
like
here,
free agency, isn't it? I mean, it's total free agency.
Here's what's crazy. I had Brent Beard on yesterday, JC, and that the name, image, and likeness deal. They've postponed it. I don't know till when.
Right.
And I'm all for kids getting paid for autographs and jersey sales, but I am so concerned.
Oh, no.
What's getting ready to happen?
If they're worried about the rich getting richer, this is going to exacerbate that problem. And you're going to have a completely different social class of teams. And so I'm with you on the jerseys and the balls, but that comes off of production, doesn't it? I mean, that comes from notoriety, from fame, from attention. If you're starting to throw dollars around to try to get kids to come to your school, there is the haves and have-nots, almost like it is now, actually. So,
but you're right. Out. It's going to get worse. It's going to be. I've said it many times. Quarterback X coming out of, let's say, Tampa Catholic High School. Mm-hmm. He's being recruited by Georgia, Florida, and Alabama. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Highest bidder.
Florida dealership offers him, a F-150, a billboard, and X amount of dollars. Well, Georgia finds out about it. What does Georgia offer him?
F-250. I'm with you, Coach. I think it's dangerous precedent that they're getting into here. They've got to get a grip on this. We'll see how this all pans out. But you're right; it is going to be pushed back. But everybody was talking about how lowly rated the Alabama-Ohio State game was, with 18 million viewers, down 50-some-odd% from previous years. And I think it speaks to the idea that folks are tired of the same old, same old. Now, you can't come out and say, well, maybe we should throw a luxury tax on Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State. Maybe we should only give them 75 scholarships because they've just won this thing. That's called socialism. That's called communism. That's called wrong. But what you do is you say, you know what, maybe we could spread out the postseason a little bit, give these kids reasons not to opt out, give these kids reasons to go to maybe another school closer to home, whatever the case may be. Because if you divert them perhaps away from the Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, LSU, Georgia world, then you may have some more interesting postseason season football. And to do that, you have to expand the number. So you can't take 10 scholarships away from Alabama just because Nick Saban's successful. You can't do those kinds of things. But you can be creative in other ways to make it more interesting for college football. And they better think about that because, again, we don't want to see the rich get richer because people are turning it off, QB. 18 million people watch the game Monday night.
Yep. Refresh your vehicle and your brand with the vehicle wrap from WrapSpot. January is your lucky month at WrapSpot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. JC, I told you we had a new sponsor called ChompHarderApparel.com. We're going to get you in some good hats.
I love it.
We also have, as I said, Hunt Harder. I know you're a big hunter. We're going to get you one that says Invest Harder, but we'll put up on the Facebook Live where people can go purchase those from our good friends at ChompHarderApparel.com. Sweet. We got a couple of texts here on the Titan MR text line. This comes from Ryan. He says, as if Trevor Lawrence didn't already have high enough expectations, adding Meyer as his coach will only increase the attention and anticipation. Shane, money aside, would you rather be the first overall pick expected to be the savior of a franchise, or more like a Kyle Trask, Mac Jones type with lots of potential but not a ton of early pressure? Have a great weekend, Ryan. I would want to be Trevor Lawrence because he's going to make money. He'll make money that you can never make again. Because
that's right.
I think Mac Jones, from the people I've talked to, JC, I got some friends in high places now. I got some buddies that have been hired as general managers in certain places, and I've talked with them all season long. They think Mac Jones may be a late first rounder. They still say Trask is a late second, third rounder. Everybody I've talked to. So, so when you talk money, you're talking huge differences there.
Oh, big time. And not to mention, for a guy from Cartersville, Georgia, wouldn't be playing in Jacksonville be just so cool, right? I mean, he doesn't want to go play in Seattle or Pittsburgh. He wants to play in Jacksonville. And
you're playing at a place. He's going to a place where it's a good place to live, great weather, no state taxes.
Absolutely. So where do I sign? And so as to the pressure on him, everybody knows that he's going to be a rookie and with a new coach and a new staff. So I don't think anybody's expecting Jacksonville to shoot out of the gates at 14-2. And if they go 6-10, I think folks will be happy with that as long as they're competitive in these games. So I think that's what we're looking at. You said you had a Facebook Live, a couple of Facebook Live. I interrupted you there a minute ago.
I probably already read them. I think I already read them. But let's switch gears a little bit. College basketball's heated up. Your Alabama Crimson Tide lead the SEC at 5-0. Here are some of the matchups this Saturday. You got Georgia at Ole Miss, Missouri, who is a 1-2 team in conference play, but has like 4. What do they call those? Tier 1 wins. Missouri is a very, very good football team.
Basketball team. Yeah,
they're playing A&M. They're not a good football team. Kentucky's at Auburn. Arkansas and Alabama should be a run and gun game.
Yeah,
Florida travels to the hump. The Gators have to go to the hump, where Mississippi State was upset the other day by Texas A&M at home. But Mississippi State is a very talented team.
It's a dangerous game.
Tennessee are playing, and then South Carolina, LSU. So that's your SEC slate for Saturday. And I guess the premier game in the conference this weekend would be Arkansas at Alabama.
Absolutely, it would be. But for the Gators, the Mississippi State game, both teams are basically the same from three-point land, and these are very similar teams defensively. I think Florida really at 6-3, sixth in the conference right now. Mississippi State 8-5, seventh in the league. This would be a really nice win if they can pick one up on the road here, because Mississippi State, as you said, is a talented and dangerous team, but did lose the other night to a team they should have beaten, or at least were expected to beat. So it could happen, and Florida would be well served to try to get this win on the road, and I know they will. And, a 4:00 game, you can watch it on TV right there in between the two football games, or right before the first football game.
Yeah. Facebook Live brought to you by Mellon Law here from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Jeremy says, what's taking Mullen so long to fill out his coaching staff? I mean, he's not just going to hire somebody just to hire him, in my opinion. He's looking for the right guy that he thinks can help his program. So we shall see when that will happen. Our good friend Jimmy, who who owns Chomp Peril Harder. He said he's got you, JC. Now I don't know if he's got you with a hat that's going to say invest harder or maybe roll
Love
harder.
Love it, Jimmy.
Can you say roll? Yeah, roll tide harder or just roll harder?
You can say roll harder, baby. Roll harder. Tilt the letters a little bit and make it look like we're just moving through it. Thank you, Jimmy. I can't wait to see what I got. I'm going to wear it on the podcast when it comes, baby.
Yep. All right, JC. So let's switch gears to our Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com and join us on today for the Peachland Dentistry JC and the QB weekend.
I got to thank.
So what we got?
Well, I got to really thank Joe, the main guy down there, the big shot, Joe Lawson, who's done a great job supporting this show for a long time on these picks contests. And as we end the season, get through the end of the season, we'll go to basketball after that. But thank you for all that support, Joe Lawson, down there in Port Charlotte. What we have is something that's going to be better than last week, where both of us went 1-4-1. Now that's not very good. But we haven't had any kind of bad performance like that throughout the entire season. I think some of the problem is that some of these games went under, and a lot of the underdogs win, and our tendency sometimes is to pick overs. But in these games, we have the first game being played tomorrow in Green Bay between the Rams, who shocked the Seahawks and probably most of the NFL as the 6th seed, playing against the Green Bay Packers. And the reason why they had to go to Green Bay is because they are the lowest seed currently in the NFC. So Green Bay, with the week off, is going to lay 7 points at home. And Aaron Rodgers is ready to go. It's a rested team. This is going to be an enormous challenge for the Rams. The weather will be cold. The Rams are a California team. You say that doesn't matter, but look, if it's 10 degrees outside, I think it matters, but maybe it doesn't. Green Bay -7, QB. What do you like there? That's a big number.
Well, it is. I love the Rams defense, but Aaron Rodgers has had probably his best year of his career. They've been so potent. I think, as you mentioned, I don't know what the weather's going to be like. I like the Packers to win big.
To win big, so you're laying the 7.
Yeah.
So QB is on that one. I'm going to take the points, but I don't feel confident about that at all. Are we doing the totals or leaving those out?
Leaving those out. And so I got the Packers.
Okay, understood. All right. So then we have everybody's favorite team, America's team, the Buffalo Bills right now. And America's team in Buffalo is laying less than a field goal against Lamar. And Lamar is coming off his first playoff win, I guess, in his career last week when they came back to beat Tennessee in Nashville. The game started out awfully bad for them, but then they really got it going with his run-pass option type of game, and he ran all over the field. I don't know if he'll be able to do that in Buffalo. The weather is expected to be a little salty there, but the Bills are laying just 2.5 points to the Ravens, and I know who you're taking. I know it, and I would bet this hat and this jersey right now on who you got, because it's pretty obvious to me.
Well, I like Lamar Thomas. I like Lamar Jackson.
You like him?
I like Lamar Thomas too. But JC, what have I always said about Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, he doesn't throw it very well.
He doesn't throw it well enough to continue moving down into the big time games.
Sure.
And what the Buffalo Bills are doing right now, I didn't think they played great last week, but Josh Allen, they are so potent on offense. I think he's had a tremendous year. I love Buffalo at home.
You could almost make some cases for Josh Allen to be the player of the year. At home, less than a field goal. I thought it was going to be about 4.5. I'm thinking a 34-24 type game. Buffalo's going to score points, and they're going to score a lot of them. And I'm with you there. We're going to lay the 2.5 and go with the Bills. Charge on America's team right now. I could be wearing the Buffalo hat. If the Rams lose, I'm jumping on that bandwagon. That Buffalo bandwagon is stopping right over here at this address and picking me up, because that's my team from there on in the AFC. All right, here we go. On Sunday, we move forward to the first game at 3 o'clock. These are afternoon games, so it'll give you a chance to go to church and go do that buffet you like to do on Sunday afternoons there at the Ocean Buffet. All these nice buffets that QB likes to go to. So
I'm there every day.
Right. Well, especially on Sunday, a church day. So here's QB getting out of the buffet and getting ready to watch the game at 3 o'clock between the Browns and the Chiefs. Now, the Browns are also They're like America's Team Part 2. They're 1A or 1B. Cleveland is getting 10 points after that dismantling of the Steelers. And Kansas City had the week off. Good news on Hilaire. I don't think he's going to play, but he's healthier. He might be able to get back into the playoffs at some point if Kansas City stays in it. But they're laying 10 points, QB. 10. So I guess you're going to take
this one's tough because the Chiefs haven't played great recently. I mean, they've been winning games.
Right.
I think the Chiefs win the game, but I think Cleveland's going to keep it close because, like everybody thinks, they're going to try to run the football, keep Mahomes on the sideline. I mean, hell, if I know that plan, I think they know that plan. So
it is obvious.
I'm going with the Browns, but the Chiefs.
I think I'm going to. Yeah, I'm going with you. Chiefs win by 4 or 5 points, maybe a touchdown, but they're getting they're laying 10. And what I love about Cleveland is the way Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb have just really been effective running the football and helping Baker Mayfield out. Cleveland's got a very good offensive line, although one of their guys, I think it was Conklin, got hurt last week, so I'm not sure what his status is. Have to look it up. You could probably ask Pete that if you get into that game. Then we have the final game on Sunday and on the weekend of the divisional playoffs, and that would be the Tampa Bay Bucks playing the Saints. Now, this has been a one-sided series this year with New Orleans literally blowing out Tampa Bay and Tom Brady 2 previous times. What can Tampa Bay do differently to keep this game close? Because the number is only 3, and they've played better lately.
Yeah, this game is intriguing. As we all know, the Saints have just demolished the Bucks the 2 times they've played them.
Yeah,
can they do it a 3rd time? I don't know, but I like the Saints at home. They have to play better offensively than they did last week against. Who did they play last week?
They played the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the worst offensive performances by the Saints I've seen in years. Just no big plays, a lot of penalties. Breeze was not on his game.
But they did have the ball a lot.
My team I grew up rooting for, JC. I'm going with the Saints.
Yeah, and I am with you there. -3. Tampa has played much better here lately. And nobody would be surprised, I think, if Tom Brady could pull this off and win that game to set up a match with or a finals with Green Bay. Nobody would be surprised by that. But there's something about New Orleans in the Dome, even when there's just a few thousand people in that building. They find ways to win. They rarely lose there, except when the officials give my Rams a great pass interference neglect call or don't call a PI. And so I think Saints better get better offensively because Tampa's going to score. Look, New Orleans playing great defense, right? But Tampa's scoring a lot of points right now. They're in groove. And I think Mike Evans is healthy enough to be effective in this game.
Yeah, I agree 100%. JC, you want to hear what's happened on this day in sports?
Well, I'd love to.
Comfort Temp at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. This month, get a free annual maintenance plan with every residential duct cleaning purchase at $199 value. The service department's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for your convenience. On this day in 1994, the Hall of Famer Lawrence Taylor hung up his cleats and retired from the NFL. Wow. 1994, LT.
It's hard to believe 26 years ago. Well, I tell you, probably the greatest ever, along with Derek Thomas at that position. And he changed that position, right? So, wow, what a great player. Great player.
Yep.
If you can believe this, I'm going to tell you real quickie. I asked a guy from New York who was a New York City police officer who had lived in New York and who's a dear friend of mine, where did Lawrence Taylor go to college? Do you know? And he had no idea.
I know.
Of course, everybody in America knows that except him. And he's from New York, North Carolina. I said that to him, and he looked at me. He goes, "So?"
Yeah.
But I mean, I thought everybody knew that. I don't know why that freaked me out, but it did.
All right, JC, have a good weekend, my man.
All right, we'll talk to you guys on Monday, talk about these games, and have a safe and happy weekend, everybody.
All right, that's JC. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Hey, folks, G-Tech Clean. I told you about it the other day. Here's what it does. It's a great product.
G-Tech Clean is your complete germ protection. It's EPA approved to kill COVID-19 and kills 99.9% of all germs and viruses, black mold, and also deodorizes. It's the safest, affordable way to clean and sanitize your business, no matter if it's a gym, school, retail store, or office. Use it in your home anywhere from the bathroom to the kids' room. It's formulated to provide 24/7 protection and is over 30 times more durable than any other cleaners. Try G-Tech at home as well.
So I use G-Tech Clean to keep my studio clean of any germs and viruses and COVID-19, and so should you. We'll be right back with Pete Prisco from CBSSports.com talking to NFL. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Ribs, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the Advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to a Friday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Medici's, Nike, and opening soon, Dave & Buster's, and coming spring of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators come to celebrate. We're now going to go to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by a good friend who's been covering the NFL for about 3 decades, Pete Prisco from CBSSports.com. Good morning, Pete. How are you, bud?
What's up, Shane? How are you?
Doing great, man. We got somebody on here that knows about the NFL. Me and JC just did our picks. We don't know a whole lot. We just act like we do. But first, we got the big news in the NFL. Urban Meyer, the new head football coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know Jacksonville's got to be excited. Your thoughts on Urban going to the NFL?
Well, if he hires the right staff, I think it's a good hire. Look, you know what he can do. He can motivate. He will get the culture changed. They've had problems with culture in that building. In 2017, they went to the championship game and were within a sniff of going to the Super Bowl. And what happened was the culture got bad. Players started believing in themselves way too early. They started snubbing their noses at Tom Coughlin, and he was the president, and it kind of bled over into the locker room. So I think Urban Meyer fixing the culture will be good. Urban Meyer needs to hire the right people in terms of offensive coordinator to work with Trevor Lawrence. And who's he going to hire to be his general manager? I think that's important.
So I mean, there's been a lot of rumors out there, Charlie Strong joining him, some names that Gator fans are familiar with. What are you hearing of some of the people he may bring in on staff?
Yeah, Steve Adazio's name has been mentioned. I think Chris Ash's name has been mentioned. I think the defensive coordinator at Utah, who has ties to him as well, has been mentioned. So I think there's a lot of college coaches, but I'm curious to see what NFL coaches he brings in. Scott Linehan's name, the former Dallas Cowboys coordinator and head coach to the Rams, is also a possibility to be the offensive coordinator. So I think if there's a good mix, Shane, and you know this, you play in the league, of college coaches and NFL coaches, then I think it's a good move. You have to have a mix, because I don't think you can just bring in college coaches.
We got a text here on the Titan MR text line. It comes from Sherry. Sherry wants to know, is there any chance Urban Meyer signs Tim Tebow?
Hell to the no. For what? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. He's been out of the game a long time, and but I don't know if she was referring from because that was his college coach or from ticket sales or
Maybe as a
whatever. But
maybe in a, like to work for the team or something, or as a player, no, he
no,
can't play in the NFL. I mean
yeah,
that ship has sailed.
yeah, I agree with that. Before we get into the playoffs, there are a couple other coaching hires. I want to say the Jets have hired their new head coach.
Yeah, Robert Saleh is from the 49ers, who also, by the way, once worked for the Jaguars as a linebacker coach. Good coach, very passionate, very detailed, did a great job with that, defensive scheme in San Francisco. The question with him will be who his offensive coordinator is, and I think it's going to be Mike LaFleur, Matt LaFleur's brother, which means that 49ers offensive system that Kyle Shanahan runs will go to the New York Jets. And I think that's a good situation for Sam Darnold. You get another year to see if he can work in it. I thought, if the Jets were going to get rid of Sam Darnold at one point, it would be a perfect scenario for him to go to the 49ers. Because, Shane, it looks like that offense would be perfect for Sam Darnold. Get on the move. He can throw on the run. I think this is a good situation for both the Jets and Sam Darnold.
Speaking of Sam Darnold, I think he's a good player. I just think he's had horrible players around him. I mean, I couldn't name one offensive player for the Jets except Michael P. Ryan because he played for the Gators and, he wasn't a starter. Is there any chance the Jets draft Justin Fields or the Zach Wilson kid from BYU, who I think is going to be a star? Or do you think they go another route?
No, I think there's a chance they take one of those two, but I also think there's a chance they keep Darnold and auction off that pick, and maybe try and add some extra picks to a team that maybe wants to go up and get Fields or Wilson. I'm with you on Wilson. I think Wilson will be the number 2 quarterback in this draft. That kid's got tons of potential. He looks like he's about 14 years old, by the way, but he can play. And I think when this is all said and done, he might end up being ahead of Justin Fields.
Yeah, I've liked him ever since he was a freshman playing at BYU. And this is probably a dumb comparison, but he's got a little Patrick Mahomes in him and Aaron Rodgers, and he can move around, make all the throws. So I think he's going to be a wonderful pro. I'm trying to think any other coaching.
Well, Arthur Smith is probably going to get the job today in Atlanta, the offensive coordinator.
Oh, that's right, Atlanta.
For the Tennessee Titans, I think. And again, he's done a great job with what he's had in Tennessee. Look what he's done with Ryan Tannehill. Look what he does with Derrick Henry. And that offense has been really good. The reason they haven't been as good is the defense. Now, the defense played better last week against Baltimore, but that defense has been really bad all year long, and so they had to compensate for that. So I don't know Arthur Smith, and I usually know these guys coming up, but I've talked to a bunch of guys I really respect, former players, who say, and guys who have coached with him that say he's a heck of a coach and will be good for the Atlanta Falcons.
We're speaking with Pete Prisco here on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. You can follow him on Twitter at PriscoCBS. Let's jump into the playoff games. Let's start first. Let me see which one's the first one tomorrow. I don't even have it pulled up. I'm not prepared here. The Rams and the Packers. Okay. I don't know what the weather's supposed to be. I'm sure it's going to be cold. I don't know if it's going to be snowing or what, but Aaron Rodgers has played out of his mind this year. The Rams are one of those kind of teams. They got so many good players, especially on the defense side of the ball. Can they give Rodgers any problems?
Yeah, I think defensively they'll give him some problems for a bit, but the way he's playing and what his zone he's in, remember before the season, can he and Matt LaFleur coexist? I never believed that. In fact, I picked him to be the MVP and go to the Super Bowl. I just love the way the guy's playing right now. That defense is special with the Rams, but I mean, this, if you get a quarterback who's on a roll and hot as can be, it doesn't really matter. And how healthy will Aaron Donald be? He's been practicing all week, but if he's not healthy, then it changes the dynamic of the defense. You don't have to double him. You can single block the other guys. I mean, help with the other guys who are getting a lot of single blocks and winning. The matchup to watch is Jalen Ramsey against Devontae Adams. How often will he be on them? Because they don't play strict man across. So that'll be interesting to see as well. But I think the Rams will win the Packers will win this game. And part of the problem is, and I don't know if you've ever had a thumb injury like that, like Jared Goff.
Yep.
Shane, in the cold weather, 2 weeks after having surgery, that's going to be a problem, I think.
Well, I shattered. This is a good story for you. So I can't remember. I want to say it was in 2000. It was maybe 99. Last game of the year. Bears were out of the playoffs. Cade McNown had played. He was a first-round pick. He had played, 4 or 5 games, just stunk it up. So they're like, okay, we're going to end the season with you the last 3 games. And we played pretty well. Last game in Detroit, I've already got it planned where I'm not even going back to Chicago with the team. I'm flying from the Detroit airport to Gainesville for the all season. We go 2 minute right before half. Linebacker comes free. Nobody blocks him. Thumb goes right on the helmet. Shattered it. I mean, my thumb was sitting sideways. And so I think mine was a little more severe than what Goff had, because I was in a cast for eight weeks, because they were concerned with it, how important the thumb is in your throwing hand. But I was so pissed off, Pete, because it ruined my entire all-season golf game. You know, I was so upset. So to answer your question, I don't know what kind of thumb injury he has, but the thumb is extremely important. And you're right. In the cold weather, who knows? But I wanted to ask you about Jared Goff. He's had some good years, some good games. Do you think he's the long-term answer for the Rams?
Yes, but do I think he's the franchise quarterback that can carry the team when things go bad? Probably not. I do think he's a good quarterback, and I think he's one of those guys. There are a lot of guys like him, Kirk Cousins being one of them. You know, that guy that when everything goes well and you're good, he will be good. When everything isn't going right, I don't know if he can elevate the team above. So, you know, there's only a handful of those guys in the league, and you know who they are. They've been that way for a long time. You know, Mahomes is one, Rodgers is one. I think Josh Allen is getting the one. And you know, those are the guys, when you look at them, they can bring their game above the struggles of the rest of the team. I don't know if Goff can do that.
Second game of the Saturday, Buffalo hosts the Baltimore Ravens. And I've been on record for the last couple of years, Pete, that I love Lamar Jackson, but I just don't think he's a good enough thrower to reach the Super Bowl. He finally won his first playoff game, and I love what Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills are doing. How do you see this game playing out?
Yeah, this is an interesting game, and I tend to agree with you on Lamar Jackson. He needs to throw it better. He's got, and this was the year he was supposed to improve from that standpoint, and he hasn't. That, you know, people will say he doesn't have a lot of weapons outside, but I think if you put Marquise Brown and put him on the Chiefs, he'd be a 80 catch, 1,500 yard guy. So I don't necessarily buy that. I think structure of the offense matters too. He did get better in the final 4 or 5 weeks of the season throwing the football. But this is going to be about their run game against that Buffalo defense. The Bills have had trouble against the run. You know, they gave up 200 yards to the Cardinals in that Hail Mary game they lost. They've given up 200 yards a couple different times as well. So that's a concern. But they did get better as the season moved along. Keep an eye on how they use the 2 safeties, because I think they're going to be key to the game. Poyer, those guys are good. Micah Hyde and Poyer are both good, and they're going to be up near the line of scrimmage to try and control Lamar Jackson. On the other side, I think this is Josh Allen in a rhythm. I mean, this guy, he's coming to the line of scrimmage and identifying things and seeing it before the other guys do, and he's firing laser shots all over the place. So, you know, this is a blitz-happy team, the Ravens. It'll be interesting to see if they go after him, because he kills the blitz with his ability to get outside.
Yeah. What happened to the Buffalo's defense? Because the last couple of years under Sean McDermott, that's what they hung their hat on, was their defense. What happened this year?
Well, they got hurt a couple. Matt Milano got hurt. One of the linebackers, Tremaine Edmonds, played most of the first part of the season hurt. They had a couple other guys go down. The corners didn't play the whole season. And here's the other thing: they're little. They don't have big guys up front. They're a little defense. Ed Oliver's a little guy up front. They're not big, and you know that when you don't have those power players in the middle, it's easy to run on a team. So I think that's something they'll address in the offseason. But that's part of the reason they struggled.
At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today, 352-244-0840. We're speaking with Pete Prisco here on the Titan MR hotline. A few more minutes with him. All right, Sunday, first game of the day. The Chiefs host the Browns. The Browns finally got a playoff win. Chiefs they've been winning games, but they haven't been real impressive, I guess. You see this being a close game?
No, I do not. And I think I'm with you. They haven't been as impressive, and they tried a bunch of different things on offense. Remember early in the season, they got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and they said they were going to run the ball. Why would you ever run the ball as much when you have Patrick Mahomes in that offense? It made no sense to me. I know you need to run it when you have a lead, but be who you are, and be who you are is be Patrick Mahomes throwing it around. I think this game is going to be a lot like the 2 playoff games in Kansas City last year. Remember, they struggled early on with Tennessee. They struggled with the Texans. And next thing you know, you look up and they're up by 20. And I think that's going to be the case here. I really believe that Mahomes will get it cranked up and the Browns defense has problems. There will be a lot of points in this game. I think it's going to be a high scoring game, but I think that in the end, I think Kansas City pulls away.
Then the Bucks, who have been blown out twice by the Saints, go to the Superdome. I grew up a Saints fan because when you're in Mississippi, that's your only team. But they were horrible back in those days with Archie Manning at quarterback. The Saints last week did not impress me. I thought it was the worst offensive performance I've seen under a Sean Payton coach team, and Drew Brees didn't play well either. They made a lot of mistakes. They had no big plays. Brees just didn't play well. Do the Bucks win this third game against the Saints?
I don't know. I think this is going to come down to defense and which defense plays better. And I think the Saints have the better defense. You saw last week, the Bucs defense struggled against Taylor Heineke. I mean, that can't happen. Imagine what they're going to do this week if Breeze can get into a rhythm. I agree with you. I think part of the problem with the Saints offense, and I hate this, when they put Hill in the game. I just can't stand that. If you imagine what Drew Brees is really thinking, you played quarterback in the league, Shane. I mean, my God, could you imagine if they did that to Dan Marino in his heyday? Would have told the guy, get the hell off the field. I'm not doing this. And the kid can't pass, and he's a gimmick. That's what he is. He's nothing but a gimmick, and it kind of takes them out of their rhythm, I think, at times.
I agree. Speaking of the Saints, you've been covering the NFL for over 30 years. If I were going to start a football team and I needed a running back, Alvin Kamara is my guy. I've never seen a runner with the balance and just how elusive he is. He never takes a clear shot by anyone. I mean, would you take him as your top running back in the league?
He's my style of running back. I think Christian McCaffrey's the same style. They're the same guy. And I call them airbacks. In a game that's an air game now, you want a back who can catch the ball out of the backfield, and you can split him out and get him in one-on-one matchups, but he can run it between the tackles. In fact, I've had an argument with Sean Payton about this. They don't run him enough between the tackles. He's more than capable of handling more runs inside the tackles. And he says, well, he wants to save him for the playoffs and the postseason. But if you don't get there, what's it matter? I think he needs more carries inside the tackles because he can do it. I'm with you. Airbacks, Kamara, McCaffrey. Those are the guys you try and get.
No question. So right now, Pete, who's going to be in the Super Bowl?
I picked Kansas City and Green Bay before the season. I'm sticking to it. I think the two number one seeds are too good. Their quarterbacks are too good. This is a quarterback league. When those guys are cooking, man, you can't stop them. I don't care what you do. And everybody says, well, you go in there and you run the ball and you control the clock. That's all well and good until you look up and you're down 14-3. Then what do? Can you mentioned Lamar Jackson. Can he throw it well enough to stay with them? Plus, if the Ravens beat the Bills, which is a big if, they blitz so much, he kills the blitz. I mean, look at Mahomes over the course of his history against the blitz. So I think there's a lot of things at play, but I'm sticking with Green Bay and Kansas City.
Last thing for you, you do a radio show over in Jacksonville with Tony Baselli, who's up for the Hall of Fame once again. Do you think Tony gets in this year?
I do, but I've been optimistic before, and I'm not in that room, but I know every voter in there, and I've taken up the cause for him almost to the point where they get annoyed seeing me, and it's mind-numbing that he's not in yet. And people will point to his career. Look, he played as long as Dwight Stevenson, who's in the Hall of Fame, and he had a short career. Gareth Sayers had a short career. Tony Baselli was the best left tackle during his time in the league. Forget about the length of career. And he was all-pro 3 years in a row, and there are guys who are in the Hall of Fame that were in that same era. I mean, Willie Rofe and Jonathan Ogden and all those guys. And Tony's deserves to be in. I think this is the year he does get in. And by the way, when Tony gets in, it's time for those guys to get Fred Taylor in.
I agree.
My God, can you imagine Fred Taylor in this era, Shane? My gosh, he would have been phenomenal.
Well, I think if both of them played anywhere other than Jacksonville, they're in the Hall of Fame right now.
I agree, 100%. And I think they both eventually will get in, by the way.
Yeah, I want to talk Florida Gators with you real quick because you follow the NFL. Where do you see Kyle Trask fitting into the next level?
I think he needs to go to a situation where he's behind a guy for a year and then learns and not necessarily learns from that guy, but learns about the NFL. And then I think he has a chance to be a starter. I probably wouldn't draft him in the first round. I love the accuracy. I think he's smart as hell. He can throw the football. He gets it. But I think, like, okay, for example, if the Bears bring Trubisky back, he'd be perfect to sit behind Trubisky. The problem with that scenario is if Trubisky's not the guy and the coaching staff gets fired, he'll be the quarterback they didn't draft, the new guys didn't draft. And you know how that can work out sometimes. So I just think he needs to get behind the guy. New Orleans would be perfect for him. Sitting, if Drew Brees was still there. Now, we don't know if Drew's going to come back, but that would be an ideal scenario. And then again, Sean Payton actually believes Taysom Hill can play quarterback in the NFL. So that's a whole nother issue.
Two other Florida offensive guys that had tremendous years. Kadarius Toney, who a lot of people compare him maybe as a Kansas City Chief type receiver. Do you think he goes in the first round?
Back end, maybe. I think it's going to be interesting because Rondale Moore from Purdue is a lot like him, and I think they're going to both go in that back end of the first round, second round. What's Tony's 40 time? Because I've heard he plays fast. 40 time isn't going to be what he plays to. Now that doesn't matter to me, but I know a lot of guys will ping him for that. But I love the kid. I think he's going to be a really good NFL player.
Kyle Pitts, you ever seen anything like him?
No. He's the new breed of tight end, the basketball player who can run. And I think he's going to be perfect for the NFL. The problem with him going top 10 is position value. The tight end, and granted, the game has changed. So if you get a matchup guy like him to create problems, it's a little different. But if you look over the course of history, tight ends don't traditionally go in the top 10. I mean, Kelsey, Kittle, those guys, they were, second, third rounders. So traditionally they go a little later. But I'll tell you what. Here's what I would do if I was Jacksonville. I would pick Lawrence with number 1. Somehow, some way, if I can get Kyle Pitts, I'd do cartwheels if I could get him. And I'd find a way to get a little shifty speed receiver like Tony or Rondale Moore in the second round. And that would give Trevor Lawrence a bunch of things to play with.
Yeah, the Jags have a pretty good young receiver core. I like those guys. Last thing for you, let everybody know how they can listen to your show and follow your work.
CBS Sports HQ is our 24-hour sports network on Apple, Roku, all those digital devices. It's we do pregame for 2 hours before every game in the playoffs and post halftime, everything, and then always on CBSSports.com. So 24-hour network is mostly what I do now, which I love, and it's we have good debate, and I destroy Brady Quinn and others on Danny Cannell and others on there every week.
All right, good stuff, Pete. Appreciate you taking the time to join us, my man.
All right, guys.
All right, that's Pete Prisco. Join us on the Titan MR Hotline. I'll take our final time out of the program. When we come back, we'll wrap up this Friday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith Personal Injury Attorneys, Orange Theory Fitness, and Dowling Sons. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security Systems Studios on this Friday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. I want to thank JC. We had our Peachland Dentistry weekend picks, and then our good friend Pete Prisco. You can follow him on Twitter at Prisco CBS. He does a tremendous job covering the NFL. Good information from him. Folks, make sure you follow us and like us on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those different platforms. Tell your friends about us as well. Jeremy says real quick here on Facebook Live, y'all talk recruiting. Yes, we talk recruiting, but there's nothing really to talk about now. pretty much we've signed everybody. There's a few spots available. We do talk recruiting a little bit. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot, folks. Enjoy the weekend of sports. We got a bunch of NFL playoff games and college basketball. We'll talk to you, and we'll recap everything on Monday. Be safe out there, folks.